Hi, I'm Nina Bosky, and welcome to LifeBites, where each and every week we'll get you inspired in the areas of life, business, and media. We'll help you dare, dream, do, and be so you can get out of your head into your soul in order to tune in and take a bite. This week, we're getting you media inspired. Hi, everybody. My name is Nina Bosky for LifeBites Media Inspired this week. And do I have a special treat for you? This one is an energy ball, and she's a talented producer and host. She's been in the industry for 25 years in the entertainment music industry. She is the award-winning director of the documentary Women Like Us. And she's also the host of Welcome to My Clubhouse. Well, I guess you're in the LifeBites Clubhouse today. So welcome, Sally.
Thank you for having me, Nina. I'm excited.
Well, you and I always have a good time, and we're working on a project together. So we really get to understand each other and know what it's like, one, to be in this business in general, and two, to be women in this business in
Yes.
general. Yay. So we're going to focus this interview today on not just your own career, but also getting to the right person. And you and I have been around the block a few times, knowing what it feels like when you're not with the right person. And I think this is going to be a really helpful guide for producers that might even already be doing this ongoing, but it's always a frustration because sometimes you don't know if you're with the right person or not until you're there,
Absolutely.
right?
That is so true.
So, but before we get into that, tell us a little bit about your journey, because I find it really fascinating, specifically with people that are wanting to get in the music industry and they would give anything. And your story is really kind of fascinating, what it takes to be you.
It's a lot. I'm a lot and it's a lot. But I moved to LA from Chicago. I'm a Chicago girl. I'm Latina. I'm a little Puerto Rican girl from Chicago. And I had, the bright-eyed bushy tails. I had Hollywood Here I Come on my picture my senior year of high school. I always knew from the moment I watched Wizard of Oz, I knew I was coming to Hollywood and I was going to find Dorothy, okay? Because I loved her. But
you weren't going to Kansas, you were going to Hollywood.
Exactly. But I was like, Dorothy's in Hollywood, right? Not just Kansas, because I was not going to go to Kansas. So I knew in that moment. And so when I first came out, I did some production stuff and some like acting in Chicago first. And then I became SAG-AFTRA. And then it was easy to get an agent. So within 6 months, I had an agent. Within 6 months, I booked my first movie called Eight Heads in a Duffel Bag with Joe Pesci, which was amazing because I had always watched him. And then I did stuff on Friends and, did a bunch of acting stuff, Family Matters, a ton of national commercials. And I'm a singer. And I had signed a small deal in Chicago with a Latin girl group. And I wasn't really looking to do as much music as acting because I was really excited about acting. And then it found me. And I'll tell you how. So somebody was recruiting, they wanted to do Latin girl group, and the Latin community was a big thing. Ricky Martin had just performed at the Grammys. It was a big deal. And so everybody was looking for the hot new Latin, bands. So this guy had approached us and somebody knew me and they recommended me to him, and I met him and I sang for him. He's like, yes. And so he got the whole group together. There was 4 of us, 4 Latin girls. And then one day, one of the girls, America, happened to be at Suzanne DePass's office. And if you don't know Suzanne DePass, she discovered Jackson 5. She was Motown executive for 25 years with Berry Gordy. And she was playing this a cappella thing that was recorded to one of her friends. Suzanne happened to be walking past the office and stopped and said, "What is that? And who is that?" And she said, "That's my girl band." And she goes, "I need to meet you guys." And so, of course, America called. We already had a manager at the time. And she called and said, "Oh, my gosh, I'm with Suzanne DePass. She wants to meet us." And so a couple days later, we went and met her and we sang for her. And I'll never forget what she said after we sang. We did a cappella of Sailing, Christopher Cross.
Oh, wow.
And she said, "The hairs on the back of my neck went up, and they haven't done that since Jackson 5.
Holy moly. Wow.
Yes.
And
she goes,
how old are you at the time?
I'm like early 20s, maybe like 21,
Wow.
22.
Wow.
And I'm just in town from Chicago. And so, of course, my hair's, all of us. And so she goes, I want you and I want to sign you. And we said, well, we already have a manager. She goes, you guys work that out. And as soon as you work it out, come back and see me. And we're like, all right. So we went downstairs. We're on Wilshire, where her office was, where the Aaron Spelling building. And we were like, what are we going to do? And long story short, I made the phone call. It was hard. But I told him and I explained and I said, listen, this is the biggest thing that could happen to us as singers. We're so sorry, but we have to walk away. And of course, he was upset because he had put us together. And then long story short, Suzanne got us in front of the Sylvia Rones, who was, the executive at Sony, Ron Fair, who discovered Christina Aguilera. We had meetings with all the top notch. There was a bidding war, and we ended up signing a $1.3 million record deal with DreamWorks.
Woo! Wow.
And
Wow.
so all of this happened within months. John Baranka was our attorney, who was also Michael Jackson's attorney. So we had the top of the top. And and so we ended up, our very first producer was Michael Narada Walden, who wrote Freeway of Love and Mariah's songs and Whitney songs. And we were in
All
good
of the big
hands.
ones. So you were
Yeah.
almost catapulted into the music scene, not necessarily your primary goal at the time, right?
It wasn't.
And so then what?
So then we ended up recording an album. And this is where it gets a little bit like people are going to think I'm crazy for this. But, we met with our publicist and we met with our A&R team and the wardrobe stylist and the dancers, because, now we go into development. And so we started practicing dances and we started doing some shows. We sang for Berry Gordy, which was a huge deal. He had this big party at his house and we were the featured artist with the 10, who are some of the older bands?
Oh, like the Four Tops?
The Four
Yeah,
Tops and all
yeah,
these different,
yeah, yeah,
from the label back in the
yeah,
day.
yeah.
And so now we're singing in front of these icons. And so we ended up I did it for a couple years. We performed, we recorded an album. And then I just started to get this feeling, Nina. It just wasn't where I felt that I was supposed to be. It's crazy. But it wasn't hitting me right, because it all became about me. And, we had assistants and we had drivers and we were flying first class and, doing walks with Brooke, Cindy Crawford. And like, it was huge.
I bet, and I want to just point something out because I think it's really important. I just saw an interview with Cameron Diaz, and I've heard her say this before. She took a step back because she wanted to have children, and but more than just having children, she goes, "I had a house, but didn't have a home. I had a dog, but I never walked it." That kind of lifestyle, people think it's so glamorous, but it can get really stressful and you can lose yourself really fast.
Absolutely.
How did you not lose yourself and you had enough of you to go, this isn't me? Because most people would say, I don't care if it's me or not, I'm going, right?
Well, first of all, I was raised in the church. My dad was a pastor. And so he always, gave me I had a good foundation. And I didn't come to Hollywood to be famous. I came to Hollywood to make movies that impact people. That's really what I wanted to do. And I wouldn't do any TV shows that were showing nudity or cursing or anything. I knew that I just wanted to kind of impact the world in a positive way. And I was thinking to myself, how am I impacting people in a positive way with these songs about this and that? And, not impactful at all. Good songs, but not impactful. And one day I woke up and I said, I got to walk away. And I made the phone call. And I called the girls first, and they were really mad at me, and they were like, how could you do this? And we just signed a huge $1.3 million record deal. Your face is everywhere. And then I said, I'm so sorry. I don't even know. I just know that I'm supposed to walk away from this. And then we called the manager, Suzanne. That was the hardest call to make because she was my hero. I love Suzanne. I mean, she's powerful. Look her up. She was part of Oprah's, 25th anniversary party at Oprah's. I mean, she's major.
Yeah, she's major. Yeah.
She's major. And to walk away from her, and being around her, that was the hardest point, reason why that was the hardest part of leaving. And so I called her and we told her, and of course she was upset. And, long story short, I went through a lawsuit, and that was 2 years, and it was awful. And I gave up all my
And you're in
writer's
your
rights.
20s right now still.
I'm in my 20s and I'm doing this
Wow.
all alone. I don't have people I'm in LA by
I mean,
myself.
how courageous, really and truly. You know, it's one thing to do
Yeah.
it when you're older and you have a little bit more behind you. I mean, that's really a leap of faith to, and especially to stand alone when everybody else is going, "Are you crazy? What in the world are you doing here?" Right? But
Yeah.
you're following your own true north, which I think is really cool as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So I walked away from that. I ended up doing, a producer found out and he ended up saying, "Hey, I want to do a solo album with you to impact the world." I ended up writing a beautiful album it's called I'm Letting Go. And it's
How
on iTunes.
apropos.
Yeah, I'm letting go. And then I met this guy from the Dream Center and he said, "Would you be interested in coming and singing to the kids in the inner city?" I said, "Yes." And I started doing that. And then he said, "Will you come to Peru with us and sing for the kids in Peru?" I said, "Yes." And then I knew that my voice was created for that.
Oh,
And that's what I
that
started
really
doing.
that touches my, it must be really because it's resonating very strongly with me. So
Yeah.
that's where you know the music industry. So then you kind of you pivot and you move into television, not just acting but producing. So and in between there you had got married and had two kids.
Yes, exactly.
But
So
that also plays into it. So just tell us a little
yeah.
bit more because I think it's a really cool journey.
Thank you. So I ended up working at the Dream Center, and my biggest thing was training inner city kids to do production. And we had a show called Action House TV, and it was a traveling show. It was on like 18 faith-based networks and very popular show. And I was interviewing all the celebrities in the faith-based world, like Amy Grant and Michael W.
Yeah.
Smith and all the big ones. And so that was a blast. And then after 5 years of doing that, I decided to create my own show called Tour TV. And I sold that to Inspirational Network, 19 episodes, and I went on a tour with a bunch of bands for like 8 weeks. It was a
How
blast.
fun.
And I was hosting the tour, but I was also hosting a show. So I had a crew of four, and we did 19 episodes. That was super fun. And so that was my first show that I produced and directed and hosted and sold to a network. And then I connected with another foundation called Women Like Us. They invited me to Africa, and I decided to find a small crew, and I ended up shooting a documentary about women that are changing the world in the areas of sex trafficking, FGM in Africa, empowerment, teen suicide, and all of the above.
It's
And
huge. That's a
yeah,
huge mission. And I think that in terms of this, particularly for being a female director, producer, and performer and host and everything else, you're multi-talented. I love the title "Women Like Us" because we always like to think them and us. We you know, and regardless if it's any dynamic right now in
yeah,
this world, we're kind of divided in how we look at each other. So what's the main message? It says three journeys, one mission to change the world. So tell us a
yeah.
little bit about that documentary.
So I went on a journey. There was about 15 women that were going on this humanitarian trip. And I met Kat Sadler, who was on E! News. She was one of the hosts, and her mom, who was the founder of Women Like Us. And we journeyed together to Africa, and we met all these beautiful women. This poster came to me in a dream. I wanted a beautiful Maasai, what they consider in Africa a beautiful woman in the Maasai, with a beautiful woman from the States, who's a celebrity. And I saw them holding hands in my dream, and we made it happen while we were there. As you can see,
Woo!
this
Yeah.
is a real photo. It's not Photoshop. There's a real photo of a Maasai warrior with a celebrity from Hollywood, and women like us. And the movie is really to empower women to come to their place of knowing themselves and living in their purpose and changing the world in their community, whether it's at home with their kids, with their husband, with their friends, and in their community. And I always say, you don't have to start your own foundation, but why not volunteer for one? So
Yeah.
there's different ways that you can change the world without it being huge. Not everybody has to do a movie, right? Maybe
Yeah.
that's not your destiny, but that was mine. But there are ways for all of us to do a little bit. My quote, that's also, we have a book as well. It's a corresponding book to the movie. And the quote in the back of the book is my quote, which is, "I'm not going to wait for someone else to do it. I'm going to be the one that does it." And
Love
that really is
it.
how I live my life.
I love it. And you know what? From knowing you the way that I do and get to experiencing you, you are not life on the sidelines. You are playing full
No,
out. And no, but
Makes it
you
hard to
are.
date, by the way.
Yeah, but here's the thing is that, and so where did you get married and have kids in there? Did you ever slow
So
down during that time? Did you say I'm taking some time off, or were you just always
yes,
creating during that time?
yes. In between, I did meet my husband at the church,
Hmm.
and we got married, and we had kids pretty quickly in between that. So I did stop for 5 years because I had my kids 14 months apart, back to back.
Wow.
And I decided everything stops. I want to be here for the first 5 years because those are the most, important years of a child's life. And so I was home and, cooking and cleaning and being a mom and all that stuff. But after 5 years, girlfriend, I was like, get me out of here. I
Yeah.
got to go do stuff. So we brought a nanny in, and, I started doing radio. I started back in radio, and then I started managing artists. And then from that point, things progressed. And then that's when all of this happened.
That
So
happened.
yeah, this all happened. But I will say, when this happened, it also opened my eyes to who I was, and I ended up getting divorced.
Mm, okay. Well,
But
but that's powerful. I mean,
yeah.
you took a little bit of time for yourself and realize, especially when we get married younger, right? And we kind of grow. Sometimes we grow and we change and we evolve and we realize that, that this person was my purpose. So probably bringing the children
Yes.
into life, but not my,
100.
it's for a season. It's not necessarily for a lifetime. So you get a divorce, you finish this movie, then what?
Then now we have to promote the movie. So we submitted it to a ton of film festivals, got accepted to many. One of the most fun one was the Bentonville Film Festival, which is Gina Davis.
Uh-huh.
And we had 2 sold out screenings. The Walton family was there from Walmart. It was incredible. Then I got featured in a bunch of, magazines and different things. We did 100 screenings across the country with a company called Gather.
Wow.
And I showed up to probably 50 of those. So I was traveling like crazy for 2 years straight and showing up and doing Q&As. And I will tell you, the fun part about, everybody wants their movie up on Netflix or, the big streamers, Amazon. That's great. But there's nothing like being in the theater when your movie is going on and you hear the laughs, the sniffles, the, all of it.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
got to
Oh
be in
my
the
God, what a
theater to
great.
hear all of it. Yeah.
I
And then I
love
did a
it.
Q&A after. So I got to meet a lot of people, and they had lots of questions. Were you in danger in Africa? Like, how did you raise the money? So, that was a lot of fun for me.
And so you are obviously multi-talented. So it's not just one genre. So it's not like you are a director, you're also a producer. And so
Mhm.
let's fast forward because I want to get to also the ability to get to the right person. And
Yes.
so as a producer, and you don't have to be a producer, you could be a director, a writer trying to sell something. And there's a lot of people trying to sell something. And and I'll speak from my experience, there's a lot of people that act like they are in a position of power, but they're really not.
Yeah.
So to continue, you are now producing multiple shows, and you're all how many shows are you?
3 shows right now that are being pitched to
They're
network.
pitched. Okay. So you got 3 shows, and you are the host of Amazon's Welcome to My Clubhouse. So tell us about those 2 areas, and then we'll get to the right person.
Okay. Okay. So we'll start with the show. So, my advice to anyone that's just starting out, or maybe you have some IP that you're trying to get out, like, don't ever come at it in a desperate way. Don't ever, like, no one could know. You know what I mean? Like, we have to have that face, that poker face of like, I am in a good space. You're lucky to have me. Like, if you can have that attitude as opposed to, oh, please, can you,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
please.
yeah, yeah. Please,
So I
please,
will.
please, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And the more confident you are in your ability as a producer, director, whatever it is that you are, people will recognize that. So, for example, one of my shows that I developed is called the O Kitchen. My food shaman friend, and it's going to be an awesome show, right? And that's my baby. And I didn't have anyone yet pitching it. And one of my friends came into town, and he knows my ability. He knows what I can do. And we're having lunch, and he goes, "Oh my gosh, I just thought of someone that I think would be great for your show." And I said, "Who?" He called him up. The guy met us within 30 minutes. He showed up at the restaurant. We started talking. Long story short, 1 month ago, this happened. He is now in Atlanta pitching our show to Magnolia. which is one of my
Wow.
favorite. And Nina, you and I talked about that. It's one of my favorite networks. Who doesn't love JoJo? you know?
Yeah, and
So
that's so
yeah,
cool. I mean, but that's also synchronicity and being open and being confident and approaching it in a positive way.
yeah,
Here's the other thing is so you have three shows and then you're also hosting
yes,
your own show and your
yes.
own talk show. So tell us a little bit about that.
So it's called Welcome to My Clubhouse, and it comes from Clubhouse, the app, which I'm an influencer on there. I've been on there for a couple of years, hosting a weekly show there. So I built my following there, but it's an audio app. And I'm a people person. And so I said, how do I take these people that I've met on this audio app who are amazing and bring them into the studio and interview them live, right? So you could feel it, taste it, smell it, see it,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
senses. And so I partnered with one of my friends. I said, let's do a show. My friend Andy had a studio. He said, absolutely, you can use it. He already had the platform of Amazon. And so we started going. We started putting a plan together. I started reaching out to all my personal friends who are influencers, celebrities, whoever they are. And everybody said yes. And then the show started. And here we are. My YouTube channel has 27 episodes for season one. We
Woohoo.
are gearing up for season two, which is going to be Welcome to My Clubhouse, the entrepreneur. It's going to be all entrepreneurs, right?
Wow.
And so we're finding, so our opening episode, I'm so excited, is with Blackwater, who are it's two beautiful, sisters. Their mom had cancer. They wanted to help her. So they created this black fulvic water that has electrolytes and all these, trace minerals. And they started from nothing. And now they have this successful company called Blackwater. So that we're kicking it off with them.
Wow.
And I'm super excited. Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. So,
Yeah.
here's the beautiful thing about your talents. So you have the ability to say, okay, how do you get to the right person in music? So let's just start there. Okay.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people wanting to break into music.
Yeah.
And I would say that you had a little bit of a destiny thing happening there that, you had a lot of things happen to conspire to bring you to your record deal, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that have that desperate energy for wanting to get in the music industry today because it's evolved and it's changed. What would you say is the best way to find that right person?
Right.
And how do
So
you recognize whether they're the right person or not? Because
that's
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 also a
a
big one.
that's a big one. So first of all, you can't deny a hit song. If you're writing hit songs, that's undeniable, right? So make sure, first of all, you own your craft. Make sure you're writing hit
Mm-hmm.
songs that don't sound like
Yeah.
everything else, right? So that's number one. Number two, there's ways to get to people. We have social media now. Gary Vee, I love him. I don't know if you know him, but he's the best. He always says, reach out to people, like do your homework, go on
Yeah.
Twitter, find your artist that you love, find out what record labels they're with, and then reach out to them, DM them, go on Instagram, go on Twitter, and just say, here's my song, and do it like 40 times a day, 50 times a day, and do it at least 3 times to each person. You're not bugging people. If you are an incredible artist, Mariah Carey's story, she found Tommy Motola and handed him a cassette tape
Yeah.
while he was getting in his car, and then he put it in and he was like, oh my gosh, undeniable.
Yeah. And not
We
only
have
that,
to do the work.
undeniable, and then he married her. You know what I
And then
mean?
he married her. And
So
now she's Mariah.
yeah, no, and also she had the talent to back it up. So
Of
it wasn't,
course.
it really was the talent. So you're basically saying network, put yourself out there. Don't be
Yes.
afraid to lean in if you think your song is all that and give it to people that you've identified are the right people.
Yeah. And the lastly, I will say, when preparation meets opportunity, don't wait to start writing your songs. Write an entire album now. And then, because as soon as that person steps in, you got to have everything ready. I did a business plan when I was in Puerto Rico. I don't even have somebody I'm meeting with. Now I am, which is a whole nother story. But I met with a friend of mine while I was in Puerto Rico and I said, can you help me put a business plan together? He goes, for what? And I go, I'm not sure yet, but I know I need to do this. So we put a
Yes.
whole business plan together. And then, long story short, I have a huge meeting tomorrow with a very large company that I hope is going to jump on board for season two. And now I have a business plan that I prepared when preparation meets opportunity. So don't wait, do it now.
Yes.
And then opportunities
I
will
think
come.
that's your motto. Don't wait. Don't be a waiter on the sidelines, get in the
Mhm.
game, right?
Right.
So that's the music side. So
Yeah.
let's say somebody wants to become an actress, okay?
Yes.
And you
Yes.
have been in front of the camera, you've been behind the camera, you've directed and produced. So
Yeah.
with that said, what would you say to somebody who wants to be in front of the camera?
Two things. So there's bookstore. It's no longer brick and mortar. I think it's all online now, but it's Samuel French. And Samuel French
I remember
has,
Samuel French.
remember Samuel French?
Yeah,
There used to be a bookstore and
yeah,
now it's
yeah.
all online. Everything's online. But there is a agency book that they sell online. Get that agency book, get your photos done, and then do a little resume and put it all in a package. All of those agencies will tell you exactly what they're looking for. We're looking for Latina, this age, we're looking for young kids. They will tell you exactly what they're looking for. Don't waste your time. Only submit to people that are looking for your type. Send out the letters. It takes them a couple of weeks for them to get back to you. And then they're going to want you to come in. They want to meet you. They want to see you. You know, they're going to have you do a monologue of some kind. And then it takes them a couple weeks to figure out, you know, if you're their type and if you match with them. So that's one thing. The other thing I will say, if you're not on IMDb already, become a member of IMDb. And here's why. IMDb will give you access to all managers, all producers, all people in the industry. If you're pro, all the contact information is there. A lot of people don't know that. And I will tell you, to get a discount, because I think it's like a couple $100 per year, I can get you 40% off. And I don't work for them, but I get this deal. And it's just all lowercase SAG after a discount. And you get like 40% off or $40 off or something like that.
Good
So
to know. Hey, you're
yeah.
also, especially when people are first starting out, in the acting realm. One of the things I say to my acting clients that want to be in front of the camera still, a lot of times you'll go to like a casting director's workshop, or you'll go to a acting workshop at one of the, acting studios in hopes that somebody will see you, right? I went to, it was a producing workshop at one of the, it wasn't the Actors Guild West, but not actors, this, what is it? The
So,
actor studio. It was Sherwood, the Sherwood. So
right.
we're talking huge producers on this panel that came to talk to us as aspiring producers. And there was probably two writers and two actresses in there, or actors in there. And I thought, and the rest were wannabe producers at the time, right? And I thought, oh my God, this is the place to be as an actor or as a
Yeah,
writer, because you now
absolutely.
are in front of the producer that you would never have access to. And the thing is they spent time talking to you, compared to if you're in a casting director's workshop, you might be dealing with 20 or 25 actors and they're all trying to get their attention. So
Yeah.
I wanted to see what you thought about that. Is there any kind of under the kind of out of the box ways people can get noticed? Because I'm telling you, it's hard
Yeah.
versus when we maybe first started out, right?
Yeah.
It feels much more cluttered, the space. So how do you break through that clutter?
There's a couple different ways. First of all, networking is everything.
Yeah.
Do not be shy. Get off your couch, get outside and go network, right? Go to parties, go to seminars, go to anywhere you can, film festivals if you can get out, even if you don't have a film. That's where all the producers and the filmmakers are. Get to a film festival, invest in yourself, do extra work. A lot of people think that extra work is like beneath them, but it's not. Get with these casting agencies, do some extra work, right? So extra work on commercials, extra work on TV shows. But when you get on set, it's not about just making a dollar. When you get on set, you talk to those producers, you talk to those directors, you get in front of them. The worst they can do is kick you off set. But I'm just saying, be bold,
Well, what's so
be
interesting,
noticed, get noticed.
what's so interesting you should say that, because back in the day when I was in musical theater in the first year in college, and I was disc jockeying. So I very much, we have similar backgrounds in the sense of how we kind of, eclectic, right? So I thought,
Right.
you know what, I'm going to get into soap opera. So I started doing extra work. So I
Yeah.
started doing extra work, kind of like what you said. But here was the thing. Bing, bing, bing. I met a director on the soap opera, which then gave me a 5 and under, which is the next step. I
Yes.
became, because I started talking to him and asking him questions about himself. I wasn't just, can you give me a job? Can you give me a job? Right. I was
Right.
really trying to learn, and he loved mentoring. So when this role came up, which was the Greek nurse, Nina became the nurse for that summer, and I was on as a reoccurring,
That's
5 and under.
great.
But
Yeah.
hey, at least I got to that place. So that
Right.
very much speaks to what you're talking about. So
Yeah.
so
And also,
there's
let me say one more quick thing about that is that even if you don't come up to them, if you're prepared, if you look good, make sure your hair is good, your makeup is good, you look good, because they can also look at you and go, "Ooh, she would be great for this 5 and under." Like I started doing extra work on Young and the Restless. They noticed me, and then I ended up getting like 2 episodes where I had like 5 and under,
Yeah.
they were good parts.
I was
So
Days of Our Lives.
you were Days of Our Lives. I
Days
was
of
Young
Our
and the
Lives.
Restless. That's
That's
so
fun.
funny.
Okay, so let's move to directing.
Yes.
Somebody wants to direct. They want to become a director. How do they break through to moving from their own movies and smaller projects to really get into television, potentially movies?
Ooh, that's a hard one, Nina. You know what? The only thing I can say, it's who you know. I hate to say it, but it's who you know. I've been in this industry 30 years and I'm still not directing a major television show, but I will tell you, I have a very good friend that we don't need to mention her name right now, who has her own talk show and she's doing really, really well. And she's already talked to me about, coming on and maybe doing some stuff on her show. But I've known her 30 years. She's one of my best friends. So it really is who you know. That's why I'm saying get to know people, network. It's very hard to get in. But
Yeah,
once
you're
you're
in.
in
Yeah.
because producers and networks, they like to work with the same people.
Yeah, they do.
So find out who's doing it already. Send them, hey, I'll be a PA on your set. I'll be anything, and work your way up. That's really the only way. It's very rare that even me as a producer who has a couple films under my belt, can just go into somebody and go, hey, can I direct your show? They're going to be like, who the heck are you?
Well, and
So,
it's so interesting you should say that because I remember when we first started to pitch and find a director for a feature film that I was working on, I didn't know this. I always thought it was based on the actors, right? So you have to have the actors, and for those of you that don't know this, I mean, there is a lot of agents and managers and powerhouse, whether networks or film,
yeah,
studios, that what they'll do, just very much like the stock market, they'll look at how well an actor is doing, and
mhm,
depending on how well that actor is doing, they will get so much money up front
right,
for
right,
that film. Well, what
yes,
I didn't realize was the same is true for directors. A
mm,
director now has to have a certain amount of clout if they're
yes,
going to get backed by the studio. So, and then you also have to, if you get an actor that's well known, or at least to a point where they can actually have a say on who they want that director to be, if they
right,
don't like that director, then, you're back to square one too. So that's it. I agree with you. I think I had no idea becoming a director is not an easy thing. I thought it was like, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, you want to direct? Sure. You have a credential? Sure. It's a
right,
lot more of what
yes,
you're talking about. And then
yeah,
here's the other thing. It depends on the genre, you know?
yep,
So it's just like acting, you get typecast. Well, so do directors. So
yep,
if they've directed television, but they've never done a film, or if they've done a film and never done television, right?
yeah,
Those are some big, big things. So I think the key here, I agree with you. It's not what you know, it's who you know, right?
it is
And
absolutely,
so let's now move to producing, because I
yes,
think, you know, I know for myself, I went to SC and I ended up getting into film school. But
mhm,
at that point, I wanted to be in front of the camera. I wanted to talk, and
right,
I wasn't
yeah,
thinking about producing or directing or any of that stuff.
yeah,
And my letter of recommendation to get in there was talking about, oh, Nina would be a great producer. And I'm thinking to myself, that didn't even register in me at
wow,
all at that time, which
yeah,
is kind of bizarre. But
yeah,
I said, no, 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 I don't want to, and at that time there was no, iPhones, in the way that you had to really, not only did you have to pay for your college, but then you had to pay for all this equipment. So I was like,
equipment, right,
this is not for me. So I went into journalism and communication. But with that said, that producer, I had to really ask myself, what does a producer do?
right,
And I want to see if you feel the same way. I feel like a producer is the glue. It
yeah,
brings everything together.
they do all the work,
They do all the work, and
yeah,
they have to balance a lot of hats. And in my opinion, it's a really difficult job, and people
it
don't
is,
realize that. And I've seen you in action, and you know how to pull things together. You're on it, which is great. I've seen producers, wannabe producers,
mhm,
that, in my opinion, are full of it.
yep, I've
And
seen those too,
yeah, and particularly if you are on the finance side, particularly
mhm,
in a movie.
right, yep,
There's a lot of shysters out there that are saying one thing and they can't deliver, even
Yeah.
with people that have credentials.
Mhm.
So, how does somebody get to the right person or entity to either get investments or to get their project noticed so that it can get bought?
I mean, if it's a great project, right? Like if you have an incredible film or whatever it is, like it's going to be easier to get in. Again, talent and great IP is undeniable. So, it's who you know again, but I would say to somebody you're talking about somebody that's just starting out or somebody
Yeah,
that's
kind of
established.
starting out
Yeah,
and really, they're hearing all this stuff. They're thinking they're
yeah.
going to pitch it. I'll give you an example. I had a project sent to me,
Mhm.
and their feeling was build it and they will come.
Mm.
So I would say 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that might have worked.
Mhm.
Today, I don't think that would be the best way to do it. And
Mm.
so, in finding those right people,
Yeah.
what are the warning signs maybe to look out for? Because I've got a few of my own too, but what would
Yeah.
you say to somebody that how you can vet early on whether they're appropriate for you, whether it's on the investment side or the buying your project side?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's easier now, obviously, because you can Google people,
Yeah.
right? You can go
Yeah.
on their IMDb page. I had this guy on Clubhouse who was like, I'm an investor, I invest in movies. And I was like, oh, really? So I went on his IMDb. He had like a couple shorts on there. I was like, what? So I knew he wasn't legit, right? And then one day he called me, he was like, hey, do you know any investors? And I'm thinking, wait, I thought you were the investor. So,
Well,
anyone
I
can say anything, right?
wait, I want to stop you on this one because to
Yeah.
me this is a really important one.
Yep.
I've done it myself, particularly when I first started out when I didn't know better.
Mm.
When somebody would tell me something, even if they did have credits on
Mhm.
IMDb,
Mhm.
is it the credits in terms of producing? So let's say they were an actor even, okay?
Right.
So they have all these acting credits, but
Right.
do they have the credits in the area that you're looking for is really
Right.
key. And I've had 2 situations, and I bet you can look at it too, and I want to warn people. So I had
Mhm.
one guy, and he has done movies. So when you go on IMDb, you actually see his movies, okay?
Yep.
When the film festivals like AFM and some of the bigger ones and Cannes comes
Sundance.
in, in France, he will actually rent a yacht and bring
Wow.
people in. And so it appears as
Yeah.
if he's this wheeler and dealer.
Yeah.
And yet he's a stay away from guy. So
Right.
the shiny object, like you said, with this
Yeah.
guy, like says, oh,
Yep.
yeah, I'm an investor. Really watch it. So I said to him the same thing. I said, but where are you said you finance films. I'm looking on IMDb and I don't see any of the films that you've executive produced because executive producer is the money person in
Money.
the film,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
He says, "Oh, I don't." And then he told me the films he executive produced, and I said, "I don't even see your credit on the
Mhm.
film." He goes, "Oh, I don't want anybody to know who I am." Now,
Please.
Sally, and I know that
Yeah.
most people who are executive producers,
Yeah.
whether they're in a different industry and they just want to be a part of the movie scene,
Yeah.
ego is part of it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You
Ding,
want
ding,
your
ding,
name
ding,
in
ding.
flashing
Yeah.
lights. Absolutely.
The other one that I want to share with you and see if you've had any of these stories. This one guy was arrogant beyond. And so here again, that confidence that you're talking about, but confidence to the point where if you're just starting out, you may not see the signs and then you follow suit like thinking he's or she is all that, right?
Right.
This guy says, I have been in the industry of financing films for 27 years. What films have you produced? Couldn't say anyone. Same thing
Mhm.
with your guy. You go on to IMDb, nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, it's rampant.
Yeah. You know what my friend taught me? Trust yet verify. You could trust
Mm,
anyone, right? But you got to verify that what they're saying is actually true, right?
yeah.
And if you know your craft, you hone your craft to the point where you know it all, then you won't get taken by someone. But if you're like, I just want to do a movie, I just want to, if you go in not knowing, you will be taken. Period.
Yeah. Yeah. It really, and it is a learning process because
Yes.
I used to be in the business of marketing movies.
Hmm.
So marketing movies and be on the other end, which is the creative end or the producing end, was a real eye opener for me. Because when people would say, "Oh, those Hollywood people, shysters and stuff," I'd say, "Oh no, they're all nice, right?" Because with radio, with podcasting,
Yeah.
with television, it has to move faster, so you don't have a lot of time for bullshit, excuse my French, but you just
Yeah.
don't, right? But in the world of film, it could be, I really like it, but you need to change this, this, and this, and then come back and see me.
Right.
So would you also say from your viewpoint that people like to act like they're bigger than they are and they go have you
Of
change
course.
all this stuff to come back to
Yeah.
where then they make another wall for you to jump or another hurdle for you to jump through, all knowing that this is a bunch of you know what, right?
Right. You really have to focus on who you're working with. You got to trust your partners that are coming in. For me, if a guy comes to me and says, I'll give you $100,000, but I want to have full control of your movie, I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, but then I have to deal with him.
Yeah.
Wants to deal with that. So, don't try to do this business alone. That's the other thing I wanted to say earlier. Don't try to do it alone. Find some great partners that can do this with you. When I was developing the O Kitchen, it was Jumi and I, who's the talent. But I knew that once we had like our pitch deck, that I was going to need another person to help me get it into the door. And so now bringing Carlton Jordan, who I love, into the door, we partner, we work well together. We just shot the sizzle last week. We were vibing with each other. We communicate really well. And now he's pitching it out. So just make sure that your partners are people you trust and that you enjoy working with. That's important, you guys. It's not just about the money. It's not just about the fame, but enjoy the ride, enjoy what you're doing, because life is about having fun, honestly.
And you have, I
Yes,
mean, I love seeing you on social media too, because you're having fun. It's not
I
the stage,
am.
hello, let me look at,
No,
it's fun. You are a walking
thank
example
you.
of living life full out. But one
Yes.
of the things I think is important around this area of looking for the right person,
Yeah.
I remember in our film, we finally found somebody that was the real deal
Hmm.
and somebody that was willing to work with us. And the cool thing about it, because I got kind of thrown into the deep end of the ocean in terms of a big movie deal, and I had never done that in my life, and I was like a deer in headlights.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have known when I met this guy what I knew at the very beginning, because I would have made some different choices. But you live and learn. And
Yes.
so, but with him, one of the beautiful things about it is I would say, okay, I'm going to bring my finance guy on the phone, and so with a person that says, "Oh, I do this, this, and this, and this, and I fund movies,"
Hmm.
he would ask them just a couple questions, and it was like clockwork. He'd go, "Nina, they're full of shit." And I'd be like, you know
Wow.
what? They don't know financing, they don't know what they're talking about, and they're just bullshitting you. Now, here's the
Love
challenge.
that person.
Yeah, I know he's actually really
Love
good. He's
him.
no bullshit. So one of the things that I think is really important with this area, and this is what I told this guy that said, Nina, he's not it.
Hmm.
This guy that said he doesn't know financing
Hmm.
came from one of the biggest studios, and he had in his company a lot of credentials. So
Hmm.
the average person, including myself, would not know that he's full of you know what.
Hmm.
So I agree with you 100% that you need to surround yourself by people that know what they're doing. And really, before you go doing everything,
Yep.
really build that foundation, particularly if you're wanting to do a film.
Yeah.
Because for me, what I've learned is that creating a film and financing it on the front end, if you're
Yeah.
doing it independently, you need to look at it like you're building a house. And so many people do it where I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to get it out there. I'm going to get it, I'm going to beg, borrow, and steal and get this
Mhm.
movie made. And then they don't have the ability to make money on a film. And if you do a
Right.
film right, you actually can make money.
Absolutely. Yeah. And let me say something about that. I like to say that sometimes we have to blur the yes a little bit, right? So they don't think it's a no, but they don't know for sure if it's a yes, because it's very easy for us to say, yeah, okay, that sounds great. Let's do it. But I'm learning to blur the yes a little bit and go, you know what? Let me think about that. Even though inside I'm like, oh my God, yes, I want to. but they don't need to know that. So sometimes you have to take a step back and go, you know what? Give me a minute to think about that, or let's give me like 24 hours. Let me think through that, because you want them to think that you're more important. You know what I mean? Like they're lucky to have you instead of you being lucky to have them, because the negotiation will not go your way if you're a sharp yes. So
Yes.
blur your yes a little bit and take a minute, take a step back, let them know that you know what you're doing. And I need a little bit of time to think about that before I can jump on board.
That's a really,
Yeah.
really good advice. So what would be for a producer?
Yes.
'Cause I'm just telling you, out of all the ones, I think particularly if you're wanting to get financing, maybe
Yeah.
not in the direct, selling of to a network, you might not get this, but there's a lot of shysters out there on the film finance side. How
Yes.
does somebody try to look for we're giving a couple of these warning signs. Is there anything else that they can do to make sure that they're with the right people besides going to IMDb?
Mhm.
And like I said, some people even do have the right credentials and they're
Yeah.
still full of what. How
Yeah.
is there anything around that? Because I think that's a really hard thing sometimes is
Mhm.
I've done it too. I follow down this little shiny object that says,
Yeah.
yes, I can. And
Yeah.
sometimes you don't know unless you turn over the rock to know that, oh,
Right.
it ain't there. The gold ain't there.
Well, that's the thing, is if you're blurring your yes instead of just saying yes to somebody, take the 24 hours and do your research. Who is this person? Is he really who he said he was? Reach out to some of the people he's worked with. You can look on IMDb for a movie and how much the movie made. I don't know if you know that,
Yeah.
Nina. If
Yep.
you're if
Yep.
you're
I'm a
pro,
pro girl. Yep.
yeah, if you're a pro on IMDb, you can look the movie up and you can see how much the movie made. You could see who put the money in. You can see it all, you guys. Do your homework, research before you say yes to anybody, including money people. I just invested recently in a film, but I know the person really well. He's one of my very close friends, and he needed some, post money. And I said, you know what? He was looking for other people. I said, let me do that. I trust you. I know I'm going to get my money back. Plus, he was offering 40%, on top of that, which is great. And, but I know him. So make sure before you say yes to anyone, you either know them really well, or you know someone who knows them really well, or you research in the back end. IMDb tells you a lot, and so does Google. So there's no reason for you to be screwed over if you're doing your research.
Oh, not at all. I think that that's the key is holding off and really seeing in your own system, does this feel good or is my need to get my project done? So
Right.
early on when we got our financing and then it crashed, we went into escrow and then it
Mhm.
crashed. What I didn't anticipate was that notion of now, because all this investment and all this momentum, I didn't want to let go of that and accept what is. So that desperate energy came through. And so sometimes people tell you things and you won't know until you uncover it. And people show you
Mhm.
who they are.
Oh,
There's a
yeah.
lot of talkers, but the one thing I've noticed with people is if they don't fill in the details. And this is
Mm.
what I mean by that. Oh, yeah, I've done lots of shows. It's kind of very bigger than life. But then
Yeah.
when you ask them details, they still go back to big.
Right.
They can't fill in those gaps like, oh, how many films have you financed? Oh, so you're
Mhm.
on IMDb? Yes, I am. You kind of follow those crumbs
Yeah.
before you say yes.
Yes.
Another tip that I'm coming up with right now, and see if you agree, and I've done this and I'm not doing it anymore. Let's say you have a film and you need somebody and you think this person's really good for you. And you bring them on as a executive producer or you give them some type of credit because that's what they want. And so you go, yes, so you can get your film made.
Mhm.
Then they don't produce.
Mm.
So I now have it in a clause that you have a timed. You're not
Yes.
forever and ever and ever and ever. Because even though it would be held up in court, let's say 5 years or 6 years later, you may
Yeah.
have a legal battle on your hand if you promise somebody a credit and
Right.
then the movie gets made without that person because they've just gone off and did something else, and yet you attach them as a credit to your movie or to your project. I would say make sure there is a time bound that they have to deliver, and if they don't, we move on to the next
Yeah.
phase,
Yeah.
because people get caught in that, and then they're promising, especially creatives, they're promising all this money to get money.
Hmm.
And then the movie itself can't even make money, even if you did get it made, because now you
Right.
promise all this money to everybody
Exactly.
else, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. That's funny.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you would say to somebody who's just starting out in the industry? You've given us such great nuggets today at, tuning in, looking at yourself. Don't wait on the sidelines. Get on IMDb, do your research. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today as we're trying to get to the right person?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to say too, like, don't try to live someone else's life. Live
Mm.
your own, right? So we all have a purpose. If you're alive, you have a purpose. And sometimes people are like, I don't really know what my purpose is. Well, here's what I say to that. What do you get the most excited about? That's your purpose.
Yeah, yeah,
Why are
exactly.
you afraid of that? Put your energy into what you're most excited about. And so some people are like, oh, I want to be a famous actor. I want to be, and then things don't work out. That happens all the time here, in Hollywood. People end up moving back home, all that. Come here knowing that that is your purpose. Are you excited about it? Because if you're excited about something, you're going to give it your all, and it's going to end up being successful. So live your purpose is what I wanted to, to say to your audience, and make sure that it's what you were meant to do. Don't try to live someone else's life. Another thing I want to share with you is to make sure that what you're doing, whatever it is, you're having fun doing it. I can't say that enough, honestly, because what's if we don't know our purpose in life and we're not having fun doing it, then stop doing it. I know that's a lot to say, but I also happen to be a certified life coach. And I
Well, then
always
you're, passion. Hello.
yes. And I tell my clients all the time if they're depressed or this or that, I'm like, what are you doing that's causing that? Like, find your fun. Why is that
I
so hard
love
for
it.
people to
Find your
find
fun.
your fun? Honestly, I know that sounds like, Pollyanna, whatever you want to
Not
call me.
really. No, I think that's true, because what we bring
Yes.
into it, if you're in fun energy, it's light energy. And if it's
Yes.
lighter, you can attract it to you. If I remember, and this is actually, it would work here in this conversation with you. I had a client that said to me, I'm on my fifth audition and I hope I get it. And I said, whoa, 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 hope. I said, do you expect you're going to get it? And she
Right.
says, this is what she said. She said, hell no. And I went,
Then you're not
fifth
going to get it.
audition, she didn't get it,
Of
but
course not.
whether she got it or not, her
Yeah.
vibration has to match her
Yeah.
expectation that yes, I can. And I see myself being that actress, that producer, that musician, that singer, whatever it is that you
Yeah.
have a passion and a purpose to doing. But I think what we've done is sometimes people get caught up in the glamour and
Yeah.
not in the hard work. So I really loved what you said about, do it before you get the gig. Like you did
Yeah.
with your business plan. You don't know why you need it, you just knew you did.
Yeah.
Don't wait till the opportunity comes to you. Create the opportunity, getting off the couch and moving
Yes.
your life forward. So my last question though to you is, what inspires you in media and doing what you do?
Ooh, people. Impacting people. I would never want to do anything if it wasn't going to impact people in a positive way, whether it's with my movies, my television shows, being a life coach. People motivate me. Honestly, they inspire me, they motivate me. Seeing people that are hurt, I definitely want to help elevate them. But I always say, Nina, if you don't know yourself, you can't be yourself.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that's the biggest lesson for me. I didn't know myself, so I couldn't be myself. Now I know me. I'm ready to tackle the world, and I want to tackle it in a way that's positive, that's inspiring. And I want people to be impacted positively. I want them to be happy. Find your fun, people. I can't say that enough.
and I'm going to tell you, she is a lot of fun because we're working on a project together and it is crazy and fun at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. Where can they find more about you? Because I don't know if you
Yes.
want them to find you, but maybe some of your projects, etc. So tell us how
Yes.
they can learn more about you.
So the best way, and first of all, thank you, Nina, for having me. And thank you to your audience for staying with us this whole time. I hope, that you guys learned some stuff. I'm going on a fun journey. You guys can join me on Instagram. That's where everything happens. That's where you can find my link to subscribe to my channel on YouTube. But I'm going on a really fun journey to help women and girls in my television shows, my movies, and everything that I do. So follow me there. And also, if you don't mind, DM me and tell me I saw you on LifeBites because I want to meet you and
Oh,
I want to know where you guys like saw the interview. So DM me, say I met you on, I saw you on LifeBites and I want to get to know you guys. So thank you for watching.
that's
Yeah, and my
wonderful.
Instagram is Sally Cologne, the number one. So my name and the number one.
Okay, we'll put it up on the screen so everybody can see it as well. Thank you so much, my little fireball fellow producer. I love it. We have fun together, and I just
Listen.
so enjoy you. So,
And I have my red glasses too, so we should
oh,
take a
good.
picture
So
there.
there we go. But yours are fun. I like those fun ones. Yeah, those are good. So red and red. Yeah,
Red and red. Yeah. Thank you, Nina. I love you.
love you too. So thanks again, Sally. And thank you for watching another episode of Life Bites Media Inspired. Until next time, I'm Nina Bosky. And remember to take a bite out of life before life takes a bite out of you.